Hey, so I recently had actually a couple of students cut their handicap by more than half in a period of about 3 to 6 months, which is absolutely scintillating results. And actually we only worked on 3 fairly easy to learn skills. I think you can learn them at home. Just watching this video can move you forward in the right direction with your handicap as well. So if you want to hit the ball more consistently, long and straight, and lower your scores, definitely stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve from HitItLonger.com. I hope you get enough value out of this video to hit the like and subscribe. All right, the first skill that we learned that neither one of them had very well at the beginning was kind of the correct setup angles. Really, if you want to be a good golfer, if you watch some of the best in the world, the Obergs and Morikawa, these guys who just hit the ball so long and straight and they're so consistent, they definitely set up with really good angles. So at the hips, we're looking for about a 30-degree angle, like about here. Now, this is going to vary slightly depending on your height, your arm to leg ratio, things of this nature, but most everybody should fall in between about 30 and 35 degrees bow at the hip. So if I were to draw an angle straight up from the ground up to my tailbone and then up my back, you're going to see about a 30 to 35 degree angle right here. Now, what can't we do? What shouldn't we do? If you bend your knees too much this way, which a lot of higher handicappers tend to do, I think they got to really sink in like this. Now, if you try to bow 30 degrees, your hands are too low. So what usually tends to happen, someone who bends their knees excessively, they tend to lose some of that 30 degrees to like 20 degrees. And all of a sudden, their torso is a little bit too straight up and down, which is going to encourage a shoulder turn that goes a little too flat and a swing plane that's just a little bit too vertical. And this is how a lot of people get in the predicament of slicing and not hitting for good power, swinging from the outside. The other thing we'd like also to do when we're after this 30 degrees, we don't want to replace this 30 degrees with thoracic curve. A lot of people will look like this over the ball. And again, notice that here at the lower back and the hips, I don't have a ton of angle because it's all being contained, overall on 30 degrees. But it's not here at the hips, and chances are you're going to lose some of this thoracic bend in the impact zone, and you're going to end up very tall through the impact zone. So we're after about 30 degrees at the hips, and then we see how well you can maintain the 30 degrees throughout the swing. All right, the second skill that they learned, once they'd learned how to set the angles properly at address, was to learn how to swoosh the club head. In both cases, these students were fairly challenged for distance. They were only hitting maybe 200 to 220 yards off the tee, which is very congruent with somebody who's like a 14 or a 16 index. But someone who's more like a 5 index is probably typically hitting the ball more like 250 off the tee, something like that. And so it'll be helpful to get more powerful and get some more distance in order to get your scores to drop. Now, the way they did that was to learn a very simple skill in learning how to make the club head swoosh. You're going to make the club head swoosh by really snapping the wrists down at impact. So let's hear, I'll try one. Let's hear if you can see if you can hear the swoosh at the bottom of the swing here. Okay, so you can probably hear that pretty good. Now, specifically what we're trying to do with this swoosh is locate it. You didn't just hear a swoosh, but you heard me positioning the swoosh. I want you to watch it again. I'm going to swoosh, about where this mat ends. So somewhere right about here is where you're going to hear the swoosh the loudest. So listen to that again. Okay, and I heard it right here at the end of the mat. Not only that, but if we were to look at this from the down the line angle, and I would do the same thing, you'll see that the swoosh, there's 30 inches out in front. So this mat is perfect from the tee to the edge of the mat is precisely 30 inches. So right here at the edge of this mat, but also around the curve. So I'm looking to swoosh here, not here, except in certain cases. If I give you a field drill, it might be different, but the reality is we'd like to swoosh around the curve. 30 inches out in front, around the curve, snapping the wrists loosely and quickly enough to make that club head whistle or tuck back to you. Let's look at it again from the down the line this time, swooshing right about here's my target. And I get that club going around on the proper arc, and I get my speed out in front of the arc, 30 inches out in front of where I'm going to strike the ball. Now, why is this important? It's important if we go back and we look at the face-on swing I did a minute ago in slow motion. You're going to see that it's forcing me to shift my weight and rotate all the big muscles of my hips and my trunk around the corner in order to produce that swoosh out in front. You can't do it if you're falling backwards or you are not rotating enough. And you'll also see that I've got correct amount of lag and forward lean in that swing as well. So all of the things that you might be searching for in lots of other YouTube videos on how to create compression and lag and lean and ball first strike can be covered very elegantly with this one skill. So let's keep this simple. Move on to our third skill. Now the third skill we learned, you may have heard of this, it's called the Hogan pane of glass. So Ben Hogan, all he wanted us to do is never swing above the glass, but always at or below the glass. And he was obviously very good at swinging below the glass. So here we have a rudimentary, you can imagine this in 3 dimensions. It's a pane of glass that runs from, let's say, at the ball or just beyond the ball. And it would go right through the base of my neck, almost as if there was a hole cut in it for my head to fit through. It would just be resting right on my shoulders. So something like this. So if we can just learn to swing at or below it, like that, then we're going to have great results. So in one case, the student was not breaking it here, but he was breaking it here. And in the other case, the student was breaking the glass on the way down, but he was fine going through. So one student looked like this, the other student looked like this. But if you can break it or not break it, either going back, coming down, or leaving after you've struck the ball, you can stay under that imaginary glass the whole way, then your swing is going to have a pretty nice shape to it. Your club path is probably going to be straight enough, and you're going to eliminate some of the unnecessary club face rotation or shaft twist in your swing. So again, with the driver, you might set it just a little bit flatter, but the goal here is to just stay under the Hogan Glass. So let's go real slow. So something like that. And as long as we can stay underneath the Hogan Glass, we're going to be in pretty good shape. All right, so let's review how these two students and many others that I've had have taken these 3 ideas and chunked them into one very, very simple, easy to feel swing, where they're only thinking about feel like one whole rather than parts. Bowing to 30 degrees at the hips with the back and the knees fairly straight. Swinging under the Hogan Glass and swooshing precisely 30 inches in front of the ball around the arc. When you can do those three things, first with a dry swing, because again, nobody learns Beethoven full speed the first time. You learn one note at a time. So dry swings until you get one feel. Not three ideas anymore, just one fluid feel. Then some smooth, easy ball swings, bowing 30, back and knees are fairly straight. Not locked, just fairly straight. Imagining staying under the Hogan Glass and swooshing 30 inches out in front and around the arc back to the inside again. Once you imagine the glass and you imagine the arc, you can start swinging to it. First dry swings, softball swings, faster ball swings, fastest ball swings, till you have all one feel that these three ideas are chunked into. Hey, this has worked really well for a lot of my students. These three ideas all put into one. You can go from being a very poor golfer to a pretty good golfer in a very short amount of time by implementing these three ideas. I know you can do all three of these things. It'll take a little bit of practice to do them all and fit them all into one fluid motion, but that's why take the ball away first, take the speed away, and build it back up as you get more comfortable with it. So give it a try, let me know how it goes. Thanks again for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.